Hey there, this is Mira, Anca's AI avatar. Today on Events Demystified, your podcast host and producer, Anca is chatting with Eric Rozenberg, an acquisition entrepreneur, trusted advisor, speaker, and best-selling author who has dedicated himself to assisting event professionals and entrepreneurs in business growth and management. The conversation demystifies the journey of event planning success, focusing on strategic thinking, overcoming challenges, and sales increase essential for growing your event business. Insights shared during this conversation emphasize shifting mindsets, delegating tasks, and forming strategic partnerships. The power of community, mentorship, and utilizing AI tools are discussed as crucial elements in achieving success and maintaining well-being in the events industry. Tune in and find out how Eric's adventurous spirit translates into taking calculated risks in the business world.
Welcome to Events Demystified podcast, where we explore and demystify the world of in-person, virtual, hybrid event AV production and technology by sharing insightful tips, tricks and tactics to make your events a success. This podcast is brought to you by Trifan Events, a woman-owned boutique event production agency. And your host is Anca Trifan, a technical event planner and producer with almost 2 decades of hands-on technical experience in event production.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Events Demystified podcast brought to you by Trifan Events. I'm your host, Anca Platon Trifan, and today we are entertaining a conversation that's absolutely essential for anyone aiming to make a significant impact in the meetings and event industry. We're demystifying the journey from being an event meeting planner to running a successful, thriving business and the pivotal role that strategic thinking, sales increase, and overcoming challenges play in this transformation. In the spotlight today, we have Eric Rozenberg, an amazing figure whose career spans over 2 decades of consulting with Fortune 500 companies and producing award-winning events across the globe. Eric is not just any entrepreneur, he's an acquisition entrepreneur, trusted advisor, speaker, podcaster, a 2-time Amazon best-selling author. His dedication to inspiring action, integrity, and honest results has propelled countless entrepreneurs towards business growth and better management. Eric's first-hand experience in crafting memorable events that not only dazzle but also align with corporate strategies and boost team morale has set a new benchmark in the industry. His podcast, The Business of Meetings, is the first in our sector dedicated to business owners, offering weekly gems of wisdom and inspiration. Aside from that, his books provide quite a bit of insights into strategic partnership and the essence of meaningful meetings, while his personal journey to America encapsulates the spirit of perseverance and courage. But beyond his professional accolades, Eric is a family man just like any other family man out there. He's residing in Boca Raton with his wife, Elsa, their 3 daughters, and their dog, Simba. His involvement in various boards, including the International Board for Meetings, Professional International, MPI, showcases his commitment to advancing our industry and community. So, if you're wondering how to elevate your event planning business to new heights, to position yourself as a strategic partner rather than just another vendor, Eric's insights today will be invaluable, and I hope that you will tune into this conversation, stay all the way till the end. And with that, let's welcome Eric to the show and get ourselves going here. Welcome to the show, Eric. How are you doing?
Anca, thank you very much for having me. I'm doing very well, except a little bit the voice, but besides that, all is very good. Thank you.
Well, we're going to have to navigate that because it sounds like it's going around. I myself feeling a little bit under the weather after yet another trip out of town. So I can definitely commiserate over there with you.
Hopefully, I won't start coughing, but if not, I will pause. No worries.
Well, before we dive into the nitty-gritty of business growth and strategic partnership, I've got to ask, between your bungee jumping and the flying, which are quite some adventurous activities, which one do you find more exhilarating and why? And with this adventurous spirit of yours, I'm also curious, as a second part question to that, how does it translate into taking risk in the business world?
Oh, wow. Well, the bungee jumping was at a time in my life where it was actually on the bridge between Zimbabwe and Zambia. And I thought that, you know what, if I can do that, there's a very little thing that will scare me in my life. And they was doing an inspection trip for an incentive program that I was organizing there. It was absolutely exhilarating, loved it. But it's nothing compared to learning how to fly a plane, which I'm doing now. And it's overwhelming, it's complicated, and I love it because there's a lot of learning. And it's just magic when you're able to lift off the plane. Even now, I'm at the stage where I can land the plane with the instructor next to me, no more than that. But it's fascinating. And how it relates to business. Well, I guess a lot of things relate to business. And in terms of risk, is you want to take as little risk as possible, knowing where you want to go. So if you take the example of a plane and flying a plane, there's a lot of checklists that you want to follow. There's a lot of processes that you want to follow. You want to learn with the best. You want to practice and practice and practice. You want to make sure that you never, ever too confident or overconfident. It's a very humbling process, but it has always been a dream. And, one of the flight I could do, we were at 7,500 feet, and my instructor filmed that, and I sent it to a friend who's been a private pilot for years. And Anca, his answer was, now you know why birds sing. And I just love it. And so it's a process like everything. It's very challenging. And yeah, I guess that's what I love. I love learning. I love learning with the best, and that's what I'm doing.
Well, I have to have some follow-up questions to what you just said.
Okay.
First off, when you were, looking at this great divide and you're attached to this bungee rope and you are questioning your sanity when you're about to do this one crazy feat of courage, obviously, and bravery, what did it go through your mind? Like, kind of like did you have any this is it. If something goes wrong right now, have I lived a good life?
Well, no, I didn't have myself that question, but I did trust the process. It's who you're doing it with. So I always visualize myself. Excuse me. Sorry. So I always visualize myself doing that. And I was told by friends, don't try to rationalize, because if you try to rationalize that, you're not going to do it. And so I visualize myself really jumping with jumping in front with the arms extended. And so I remember being there, and there's a guy from New Zealand and then people from Zimbabwe, and they are attaching the towels to the legs and everything. And the guy goes, the sun is shining, and people say, and people are dying. And so, thank you very much for that. And so you're getting close to the platform, and I did something that I should have never done, but he said, look down. And I looked down 111 meters. To convert that into feet, it's probably 330 feet, something like that, with the Zambezi down there. And I thought, oh my God. And then he goes, are you ready? I said, no. He said, good. And then he said, 3, 2, 1, bungee. And at that moment, I didn't rationalize, just jump.
Wow.
And then I realized what I did. And I started screaming like hell. And it's going down. I can see the river approaching. And then it's actually very soft. I thought it was, with the back will take a lot of pressure. No, it's very soft. And then you're going back up. And I see this bridge coming up. I said, I'm going to crash on the bridge. And of course you don't.
Right.
And you do that several times. And it was just amazing, an amazing feeling. But to answer your question, you don't rationalize. You prepared a lot, you visualize a lot, but you are in the action. If you rationalize, you probably don't do that.
And you also have to trust the people you're basically
Exactly.
putting your life in their hands. And you're
I
hoping
can
that they really know what they're doing.
absolutely. I can make the comparison with all the meetings, the sales meeting, the product launch. I did in over 50 countries in the world. I always try to, in Europe, to work with the same production company, like what you're doing. And assuming that I would still be organizing project now, which I don't, but imagine we're working together. I would brief you on whether the client expectation, would be working on the preparation, would be reviewing every case, every scenario. What if the electricity go down? What if, what if, what if? And then when it's showtime, I trust you because your expertise is something that extremely needed in what I do, but I don't have it. So I would have done all my homework before. I would have prepared everything I could with you, and I put all you and your team in the best condition possible. And then you have to trust the people you're working with. And the more you do that, that's why I always love to work with the same partner because there's a trust and there's also, you know who you're working with because at the end of the day, it was my reputation, my brand, my company that was in the line of fire if any of our partner would not deliver.
Absolutely. I mean, there's also, building that rapport and knowing that you have each other's backs. I mean, I have some good examples of how that worked really well in my own experience doing events, but I also have some bad experiences with, entrusting your event, your client, your reputation into somebody else's hands and that not going so well. And then there's a price to pay, right? So I can definitely see those examples. And I love the parallels that you're drawing from, this one adventure. And I love it just because I do the same. A whole lot of the experiences that I have outside of my professional life, which has to do a lot with bodybuilding, there's so many parallels to the business, to building a business. I remember when I decided to do something crazy like you just did, I was in Florida and I wanted to jump off a plane from like 20,000 feet.
Why
And
not?
obviously it was with, in tandem with an actual instructor that actually had experience because nobody's in their right mind gonna throw like a rookie off a plane if they don't know how to, deploy a parachute and whatnot. But I didn't think about much as in how crazy that might be. I just wanted to do it. And it's like I'm just like visualizing how I'm just like, paraplaning, sort of like flying in the air. The first, I feel like 30 seconds or 45 seconds when you jump off the plane at that altitude, I'm telling you, like your face, everything, it's like you can like even compute two thoughts together. It's so insane because like you're free flying at that point, right? And you're going at a quite a high speed before the parachute opens, and then you're just more like riding the airwaves. But it was intense. It was very crazy. Would I do that again? Probably not. I love that I did it. I check mark it, bucket list. Let's do something else now.
Well, to your point is you prepare as much as you can, and then you have things that are unexpected or that you haven't experienced before, and then you have to find an answer, a solution. And that's exactly what you and I are doing in this industry, what I've been doing for 20 years. There is not one project that my company has organized that was executed 100% the way it was planned. There's always an Eyjafjallajökull volcano exploding in Iceland and closing the airspace, a strike in an hotel that you have to deal with. And the more you prepared and the best vendors and partners you have, the more you can react.
Yeah. Well, it's obviously clear to me that your love of adventure plays a big part in how you approach challenges and opportunities in business. So as we dive into the essence of our conversation today, building a successful event planning business, I'm curious because you've helped countless of business owners shift their focus to what truly matters. How can our listeners increase, and we're going to go straight in, okay? How can our listeners increase their sales and dedicate more time to their passions so they can go and jump off planes or bungee jump, in the middle of nowhere somewhere in Africa and still have the opportunity to do fun things while, they focus on the growth of their business?
Absolutely. Now, there's one word to answer that question is mindset. I'll give you an example, personal example. The first 2 or 3 years I had my own company. I was everywhere doing everything. And I had a project, great. Nobody else than me can do it as best as I can. And it's my brand and it's my company. And then, oh shoot, the project is almost over. I need to find new business. Oh great, I have a new business. Well, nobody else can do it better than I do, and so on and so forth. It's like an hamster wheel. Until one day I decided that I needed to have other people that can also manage project with me. And by the way, the first weekend I had not only one, but 2 projects together, and I was at home. First, at the end of the weekend, I had no more nails to bite. I was stressed like crazy. And then what? Nothing happened. There was maybe 1 or 2 phone calls during the weekend. That was it. My point is, from the moment that you have defined what you want to be building, and that's the big question, is to define that. If I ask someone, how do you see your business in 10 years, or even in 5 years, most of the time is like, well, you have to be able to answer that question. From the moment you've answered a question, the mindset that you have to work on is every single task you're doing, every single thing that you're doing, you need to ask yourself the question, should I be the one doing that? Mm. And from that moment, you basically can do that exercise for 2-3 weeks. You list all the activities you're doing throughout the day. And then you have 3 columns. One is you need to continue to do it. The second one, you need to delegate it. And the third one, you need to stop doing. That's also something that people don't even think about. And then you go back to the delegating column and decide how you're going to group those tasks, who's going to do that, who can do it instead of you. And I would say that if somebody's delivering 80% as good as what you would do, most of the time, it's great. It's great for the project, it's great for the customers, and it's great for the business. But at the end of the day, if you want to have the resources in time, in money, and be able to focus on what you do best, you need to have the mindset of delegating. You need to be able to remove yourself to most of the activities and focus on what you do best. And I would offer that as a business owner, what you do best is representing your company and is negotiating new contracts. And of course, you want to make sure that everything is delivered well, but everything else, you can rely on other people, hire other people, train other people, and build a team to deliver that. That's really the mindset of saying, I am going to build a real business. And I was raised in Belgium, and I was raised with this mentality of you need to know your strengths and weaknesses and improve your weaknesses. Until one day I thought, no, I want to focus on my strengths and hire people for my weaknesses, and their strengths are going to be my weaknesses instead of trying to do everything. So it's really a question of mindset, and then the rest obviously is processes. It's all those elements that you put together, is having the right people, is building a great team. And so if you want to increase your business, if you want to increase your sales, first you start with your mindset, then you put the system in place, you do all the sales process, you train people on what is it that they should be doing. The objection, for instance, I would offer that you have 10, maximum 15 objections are always the same. Are you too expensive? Are you too this? Are you too that? And so you build those answers. You put yourself in the shoes of your prospect and customers, but you have those answers. At the end of the day, you can then train other people that can also sell for you. But the point is to increase the sales, make sure you have the right process in place, make sure you have the right people in place, and make sure that you are removing yourself as much as possible from the daily activity.
I like that. Obviously, as you said, mindset is everything. At the same time, I feel like it goes a little bit back to what we just talked about earlier, risk management, right? So knowing what your risk factor is and if you can manage that, because the moment you involve somebody else into your operations, your business, you have to learn to trust them. You have to learn to take a risk, right? And as you said, like sometimes you have to trust people with doing lesser of a good job as you would if you put yourself into that position. But then at the end of the day, if you work in the business and you work the business and then you're trying to grow the business, it just feels very overwhelming fast. And I've been through those phases myself. And I know how hard it can be, to figure out, okay, what is it that I want? Which direction do I want to go? Because this is hard. This is impossible. This is way too much. And in this journey of entrepreneurship, there's also this element of sometimes you're feeling alone and you're also feeling swamped and you're not sure if you should share that with anyone because you're thinking you're the only one feeling that. You must not have what it takes to grow this business. So I'm curious if you have navigated those waters. What advice do you have for any other meeting event professional out there that they want to be business owners? They want to grow a business, but they're feeling very much the same.
Absolutely. Have I navigated those waters? Absolutely. Everybody, every entrepreneur have navigated, those waters. Yes, you feel alone. Yes, you feel overwhelmed. And in our industry specifically, you need to know so many different aspects. The sales, the marketing, the legal, the AI, the risk management, everything come at once.
Negotiation, budget, production, planning, everything. You're right.
Absolutely. And so how you do that? Well, alone you can do nothing. And there's different ways. The first thing that I learned at a very young age is I was president of a student organization in Belgium called ISA. And built in the structure, there was this thing called an advisory board. And we had all the head of recruitment from Unilever, Accenture, all those big names, Procter & Gamble that were in our advisory board. So you can build your own advisory board. And obviously you prepare that, and once a quarter, you expose yourself to people you trust and ask questions and get advice. The second thing is to find peers that you can talk to, whether it's a mastermind, whether it's some group of entrepreneurs, some forums that you can create. That's where you realize that, yes, you have people that are experiencing the same issues as you do. Now, what you want is find a container where trust is essential. And to be able to have trust, you need total confidentiality. In other words, if whatever is discussed in that container remains in that container, if someone breaks the confidentiality, they're out immediately. There is no compromise on that. And that's where you also can learn from others. You can share your challenge and get some feedback and ideas from other people. You can have a mentor. You can have a coach. You can have an accountability buddy. And all those things I do have. So yes, I'm not only I navigated those waters, and that's how I also helping business owners, but I apply that to myself. I have an accountability buddy now for 5 years. We meet every week, same day, same time. Here are the 3 things I'm going to be doing this week. And it's not enough to say I've done it. You have to show it. So I guess the solution from the issues of being alone and overwhelmed is to surround yourself with people that you trust, that want to help you, that you want to help them. And there's always a group effect. Instead of being alone with one person, if you have small group, 10, 15 people, that is where you're getting leverage. That's where you're getting even more ideas. But it's again, going back to the same word as mindset. And if I want to take the example of, you doing bodybuilding and CrossFit, you're alone when you are deciding, you're alone when you're competing, It's your mindset and your will and your drive to, even if you're tired and there's no excuse, you want to get the results, and you're with other people or in the same spirit. You're competing with each other and supporting each other. You have coach, you have people that are telling you, Anca, a week before a competition, this is what I'm going to be eating. This is what I'm going to be drinking. This is what I'm going to be doing,
Yep.
because they've done it before. So whatever it is, and it's definitely as a business owner, you want to surround yourself with people that have the same challenges and that you can learn from people that have been there and that have been there successfully. You don't want to learn from somebody who has not succeeded in what they've done before, even though there's some learnings there, but you want to learn from people that have done it.
That's definitely valuable advice for keeping your head above the water, especially in our industry. And also standing out in this very crowded industry, it's crucial advice for any business owner out there that, is wanting to grow. And who doesn't want to do that, right? So I guess positioning yourself as a strategic partner is another important element here. Could you share your insights on how can you transform yourself from being seen as a logistic vendor to a vital strategic partner? And that's something that I had to navigate and work myself through, because for the longest time in my career path in the event industry, I was the AV production vendor. And after a while of being the AV production vendor, I no longer wanted to do that. I wanted to be more. And to me, that's where the vital strategic partner comes into place. And I'm curious if you have any insights to share on that.
Absolutely. I even wrote a book about it. I call Meeting at Sea Level.
I have some thoughts on it.
Right? That's the methodology that I developed with my business partner in Belgium, Georgiana. I was in the middle of the subprime crisis, and we managed to grow the business despite of it. The reason is we went to the company and tried to understand what they were trying to achieve. So what we did is the following. Instead of going in and asking questions like, how many people are coming? Do you want to have a welcome cocktail? Do you want to have a farewell dinner? How many double rooms, single rooms you need? When you ask those questions, you are asking logistical questions. I'm not saying it's not important. Down the road is going to be, of course, important. But most of the time, who are you dealing with? You're dealing with a sales director, you're dealing with the director of event, a chief marketing officer, or even the CEO. And when you ask those questions, you are putting yourself in the box and the perception that they have, which is you are a logistic vendor. Mm-hmm. If you want to have the proverbial seat at a table, you need to come with a different set of questions. If I come to you and say, well, I understand that your company is in your industry, these are the challenges that you're facing with. I understand that your competitors doing this and that. If I'm correct, those 2 or 3 priorities that you have for the company for next year from the different people I've been talking to, the question that I asked before, is this correct? They're immediately going to perceive you as somebody who understands their business, not somebody who's there just for the logistics. And the whole process, and I actually have a cheat sheet on the website, eventbusinessformula.com, where it's basically the question I was asking. And there's all the questions, different categories, where you're asking business questions to the people in front of you. So you are positioning yourself as a strategic partner. And guess what? When it comes to make the proposal, when it comes to come back, you are designing a meeting which is totally in line with their business needs, not your logistical questions. And if I can give the example of what you're doing, AV production, and how you're positioning yourself today, I love hearing that, because that's what I did. Because of the way we were working with our AV production partner, I would come with that person, with the head of the company, to the meeting at the client. And we had prepared who's going to ask which question, and they could hear from the beginning. So when we were coming back, when we were making a proposal, when we were making all the different details, the script, what was going to happen during the program, including with production, it was all aligned on the business needs of the client. And that's how we had amazing results. And the most successful sales meeting and incentive trip because we were looking at their business challenges, what they're trying to solve. So if you want to be positioned as a true strategic partner, you have to do your homework. You have to think as a business owner, and you have to come with questions that are related to their business challenges, not the logistics. Those logistical questions will come soon after.
Totally. It's, in so many words, basically elevating your value. And
Correct.
you're making your mark by doing that, by elevating what you bring to the table. Now, before we move on, we'll take a short break to give a shout out to our main sponsors, and we'll be right back to continue this conversation. So don't go anywhere. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Before we move any further, I wanted to give a quick shout out to our main sponsor, Trifan Events, which is a boutique event planning and production agency that will come alongside you, offering personalized event planning and technical support, strategic event design, production and technology management, and flawless execution for live, virtual, and hybrid events. The team at Trifan Events is passionate about planning and producing event experiences that get people involved with true moments of interaction, engagement, and co-creation, while offering white glove treatment throughout the entire planning process, enabling you to reach your event goals with the use of creativity, production tools, and event technology. To find out how Trifan Events can plan and produce your event become memorable, go to trifanevents.com. And we're back. Thanks for sticking around for that short break. Big thank you to our sponsor for making this conversation possible. And if you're just joining us, we have Eric Rozenberg with us today. He's not only an acquisition entrepreneur and a trusted advisor, but also a speaker, a podcaster himself, and a 2-time Amazon bestselling author. And he's here sharing some gold about how can you elevate your value and how can you grow your business. Now, diving back into our chat, Eric, I've been thinking about the journeys that we all embark in our careers, and you've had quite the adventure in the world of event planning and business. I'm curious, did you have a moment, maybe like a turning point moment in your career that has significantly impacted your business growth? Maybe an aha moment or something that just made you change trajectories?
Oh, there's been many, but I would say that the first that come to mind is when I decided that I was going to start my own company. So I started my career. I knew that I didn't want to work in large firm. I studied business. All my friends were going into the large firms. I met my first and only boss at a barbecue. And it just turned and, oh, you just finished? Yeah. How about finance? Because I asked, what do you want to do? Sales, marketing, international. How about finance? Well, I don't think I can really realize myself in finance. Say, why don't you come and see in the company I'm working for? Those were his words. And actually, it was his own company. And I ended up developing the entire marketing department for 2 years. Loved it. Great experience, great person. And then I met a couple on holidays that were organizing incentive trips. I had no idea what it was. I had no idea about this industry, but it sounds a lot like what I've been doing for years during my studies with ISX. So long story short, I trained 2 people that he hired to replace me at the stockbroker company. I get into partnership with this couple. And quite frankly, one person didn't want to have a partner. I find out later on. And after 3 main discussions, I decided to resign, following my gut, because I believe you only live once and you need to do it with the right people. If not, it's not worth it. And on my way home, I decided I was going to start my own company. And so I went home, I moved the dining table to the wall, it became my office. And one of the defining moments was my grandfather, an amazing life story. But basically he came to me and said, listen, you don't need to worry about eating or sleeping for a year here. And that was
a good start.
It's an amazing start. It's a privileged start. It's just great. And then my 2 first clients were Cordis, Johnson & Johnson, and Café de Colombia through personal connection in the family, and through ISA. And it's just, you never know what's going to happen. And all my life, I realized that I believe in serendipity, but I also try to put myself in a situation where I can do what I do best, which is helping people, which is also helping others growing their business. But it's also aligned with the people I like to work with and align with my values. It's not always easy. And several times in my life, I had moments where, you make a decision. Most people will not take that decision. Most people won't take that jump. And I always believe that, most people will choose misery over uncertainty. And that's not a life that I want to live. So we've had to make some decision, whether it's in business or personal life, where you think, you know what? These are the elements that I see. This is where I believe it's going. You never know. And from the moment that you're convinced about something, just go with it. So I had those moments. I had this moment of serving MPI when I had the privilege of becoming the first chair of the international board that was coming from Europe. When I learned a lot, when I met a lot of amazing people. It's all those opportunities that I always say Forrest Gump was Belgian because he said life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
I love it. So I'm obviously very intrigued about this story and how, you started also working with organizations like MPI and EO, which has obviously influenced your business approach. And I love your story, with your grandfather there. I feel like every success story definitely has its pivotal moments. And as we are kind of switching our focus on community and overcoming, as we talked a little bit about the feeling of isolation in business, building a network, you said that, is very important to find that community that can be a game changer for a lot of business owners. I had a conversation with Leanne Calderwood, and she's a big promoter of personal branding, especially for introverts. And there's nothing harder than being an introvert in our very outgoing world that we live in. And I feel like the secret to that is surrounding yourself with the right community. So how has it been for you to be part of organizations like MPI, EO, and how has that influenced your business approach?
That's a great question. And by the way, Leon is an amazing lady. And I love what she's doing. When you say about introverts, it's never been like a very defined and well thought out decision in my life. It's really trusting serendipity. I met a guy who introduced me to ISA. I met another guy who introduced me to MPI.
But don't you have to be in the right place at the right time for those encounters to even occur, right?
Anca, honestly, I would love to tell you, yes, of course. But in my case, I only figured that out afterwards. It was not a plan, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And it's I like people for sure. And if I don't like the people, I cannot volunteer with them. But before anything else, what with ISEC, it was the goal of building a community of young entrepreneurs that have an entrepreneurial spirit and that want to build a better world and understanding with different cultures. So yes, you have to be the right time at the right place. When do you know that? I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, as I said, it's afterwards. And my life will not be what it is without those communities, for sure. I'm a people person. Again, I love people. I love helping people. I get a lot of my energy and my satisfaction in seeing other people succeed. So yeah, absolutely. But I know when I joined MPI what was going to happen afterwards. I know when I went for a coffee with my friend Noah, who told me about EO. Those moments in life where yes, you have to be open to it for sure. And if I want to make the connection with what Leon is doing, for introverts, I am a recovering introvert. You probably won't believe it, but I'm very shy.
I'm the same way. I'm the same way. Anybody that I tell that to, they think that I'm kidding.
Exactly. So if I go to a place where I don't know nobody, I'm just gonna sit there and look
Hide in a
around and
corner.
right. But if I go tomorrow to a CrossFit competition, a CrossFit conference, I don't know anyone, but I know you. And I say, Anca, are you going to that conference? Great. And I'm going to go with you to the reception, and you're going to introduce me to one person and then another and then another. That's what you do. But what I love with community is it's more than that. It's more than the networking part. It's more than the learning part. Is the impact you can have on society. That's why it's important that you align with what the community is trying to achieve. But it's also the, the personal fulfillment of being with people that have the same values, that have the same concerns, that are trying to make a difference, and then love to come together. And that's what I love in community. And yes, it's impacting my business, and it always has to impact my business. You can ask me any question, or I've experienced that before, or I know immediately who to ask for the answer. That comes from community. But it's really a fuel for my personal energy, if that makes sense.
I love that. So I have an example of how, I'm kind of very much the same way. Like if I go to an event, I like to have a sidekick with me and then, to get the ball rolling, get me introduced to some people, and then I can take it from there. But just like, cold introductions, I'm not a big fan of that. And I was at this health and wellness experience that just happened recently. Smart Meetings put on this amazing event. And I was actually filling in for one of my friends that couldn't make it anymore. And they're going to lead a Fit for Events team building boot camp, bodyweight boot camp. And, I can carry my own weight, but it's not something that I do. That's not what I do. But I said, you know what, I'll go and I'll fill in for you and we'll see what happens. Now, here I am, I'm coming in literally just like a few days before the conference. There's no printed material. There's no information about me, swapping in for this person. There's no marketing made, and I'm feeling like nobody knows why I'm here and what am I gonna do, and nobody's gonna show up to this thing, So as I'm having this conversation with one of my friends, and it's funny because there's this keynote that she's talking about overcoming challenges, and she gives us an exercise. She's like, okay, here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna talk to the person next to you, and you're gonna share your challenge, and that person is gonna try to solve your challenge. So I tell my friend Amy that I just happened to sit next to, she's from Portland and she runs her own company. And I said, hey, Amy, this is my challenge. I don't think those people know that I have this, bodyweight bootcamp coming up this afternoon. And there's been no marketing, nothing was said about it. And I don't know how to, put it out there for them to know that that's what I'm going to do this afternoon so they can join. So she's like, okay, I have an idea. This is what we're going to do. So after the exercise was over, the keynote was like, okay, who wants to share the challenge? And Amy raises her hand and she's like, well, I have my friend here and here's her challenges. So basically she gives me like a 5-minute introduction to what I'm going to do later and shares with the group, with the whole room. This is Anca. She's going to lead the bootcamp, but she just happens to be here because somebody else couldn't make it. And she's, concerned that nobody's going to show up. Now they all know what's going to happen, where this bootcamp is going to be at. And sure enough, I had, like 30 people join.
That's
so
great.
That's kind of like the power of community, right? Like yes, you're a little bit strategic, but also it's so like if I didn't know, maybe if the person that was next to me was a stranger, and if she didn't have that, just kind of like wit about it to say, hey, we're gonna work this right now together, maybe that would have not happened. And I love the concept of community over competition. That's something that I've been a big proponent of for the podcast and a lot of the conversations that I have, because it's such an important, vital role in our growth. And to kind of segue into our next topic, which you mentioned, you alluded to earlier, mentorship. That's another powerful tool, both for professional growth, personal growth. And I'm curious, in your own life, as you were mentioning, mentorship as being an important element of growth and success, how has mentorship shaped your journey, and how are you passing on that knowledge yourself?
Oh, that's a great question, Anca. And then, yeah, it has changed my life. Being able to, again, as I was referring to earlier on, personal advisory board, but also mentors, which are people that are available to answer your questions. If you don't reach out, they won't bother you, and you won't get from the benefit from their experience. But there are people that have been there before that are not they don't have a personal interest in what you're doing, but are they're there to help you, to guide you, to connect you with the right people. And that's something that I've benefited a lot, and I'm still benefiting a lot. And by the way, I have several mentors, not only one. And the way to pass it on, you were referring about EO, Entrepreneurs Organization. There's a program called Accelerator, where we help people grow their business to a certain level so they can become EO members. I'm privileged to be one of those coaches that are helping the Accelerator for close to 5 years now. I'm also one of the mentors in the program. And it's come back to something that my dad told me years ago. I was working at the Club Med as a GO, taking care of kids. And we were two for 40 kids between 4 and 8 years old in Marbella, Spain, believe it or not. And if you lose one, you'll be what's called charterized, go home. And so I had a difficult working environment. The person leading the mini club was, there's no words to describe it anyway. And I had friends that were going the same time. They were going to California, and they were going to tour California in the car and everything. And I called my dad and said, why am I wasting my time here with people who are nuts when my friends are going to California and I could join them? And he said, I never forgot that. He said, listen, you do whatever you want. But let me tell you something. When I was a guy who was taking care of kids, when I was younger, I learned more from the children that I could teach them. So I stayed, I finished the whole season, and I was glad I did. And that's really where you're giving back. Every time I have a session with my group of accelerators or with my mentees, I learn a lot from them. And it's also very much fulfilling. Again, going back to where do you get your energy from? I get my energy from helping people, from seeing them succeed. And when they see their smile and they, oh, thank you, that's what I get a lot of energy from. So it's really both like give and get. It's really both ways.
I love that. I was at South by Southwest mentoring women in technology a couple of weeks ago, and that was sort of like my giving back to the industry. And it was so fantastic to have. I mean, it was tiring, like half a day of 20-minute conversation with a new person, and then take a 5-minute break and then do it again and again, right? So by the end of all of that, you kind of feel like exhausted. But it was so amazing to see, those faces like lighten up when you just maybe input a little bit of extra, like an outside thought into their challenge, or maybe give them some advice based on something that you walked yourself through, and it could help them, not have to make either a mistake or not have to go as hard and have to hustle and then still have to start all over again. And I wish I had someone like that in my own life. This is the reason why I actually even started the Women Behind the Scenes in Events and Event Productions community, which is, taking women, trying to put them into a space where they can feel safe to share challenges, but also to find mentors and find opportunities that a lot of times, especially in event productions, it's not that easy because, it is a predominantly male dominated industry. And women many times feel like they're not the ones they're called because guys call their friends, and those friends happen to be other guys, not women. So it can be tricky, to navigate the waters of that. And having the ability to mentor someone like that and just give them courage, give them a few words of encouragement that they're doing it well, they're on the right path, and that makes all the difference. So I can definitely testify to the fact that mentorship truly can make a world of difference in somebody's life. So if you're one of those people that can give back and has the ability and the bandwidth, do consider, there's so many organizations out there that you can attach yourself to. I mean, even MPI has a lot of mentorship opportunities if you're in the event industry, and other organizations as well. So thank you for touching on that, because I feel like it's such an important subject, and it's also maintaining that balance, especially in the middle of the hustle. And if you're, with your focus now on growth, on running businesses more efficiently, I have to ask, because the season has been sort of like an evolution of the last season. Last season was all about the eventful AI, but this season, I wanted to open up to more conversations, not just AI related. However, AI is still a big part of the world that we live in. So I'm curious, do you use AI for anything to enhance the process through which you take, a mentee through, or do you use AI tools to enhance your own business in any way, shape, or form that you can share about?
There's not one day I don't use AI. So yeah. And
you're the wrong person to ask.
No, it's different tools that I'm using, whether it's for obviously ChatGPT, like everyone, I suppose, that are using it. But the way I'm using it is I want to be more efficient.
Yeah.
And I'm not replacing the human aspect, which is what I like in the business of events. That's never going to go away.
No.
Now, listen, if instead of wasting hours doing something, you can develop a process where basically there's a tool that's going to do it, or you can automate it. Wonderful. Why wouldn't you not do that? Plus the fact that you can tap into knowledge of what's existing, plus the fact that you can have a lot of the tools, for instance, to get to know somebody better just by putting their LinkedIn profile. So those are elements that I learn a lot. I'm invested in an AI fund as well, where I learn a lot. I have to tell you, Anca, the first meeting, it's an untapped venture, a little plug here for George Bandarian, an amazing guy. The first meeting with the investors, I was listening. I needed a dictionary every 3 minutes to understand what they were talking about. And then you get used to it. And then you say, oh my God, so I can use this for this, and I can use this for that. So that's great. But I think that what's very important is to use AI to be more efficient, to be more precise, to get maybe more ideas, and to remain authentic. And to not to try to fake it or try to pretend something, but really using as a support. And there's so many different areas where you can be using it. So yeah, and I'm always learning. That's what I love. Now the challenge, I would say, especially for business owners that are known to have ADHD and looking at the next shining object, is to say, okay, I'm focusing on this. This is great, but I have a note where every time I hear something, okay, I put it there. When I have time, I'm going to look at it. But now I'm using this. And being an expert in AI is not my business. Using the right AI tools to deliver on my business, that's my business.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. That's why I'm like, quite passionate about having those workshops, especially on AI with small business owners, with women in business, where you can just show them like a couple of tools that they can incorporate in their processes to, be more effective, to be more productive, and then can do the things that they do or the things that they love and not lose that human factor, so that instead of having to do a million of tasks that could be, like you said, automated, they could actually have conversations instead and grow their business and find those opportunities wherever they might pop up. As you mentioned, serendipity, that could happen anywhere. So I love that. I actually have a LinkedIn Live. I'm holding it every Wednesday for 5 weeks in a row on Wednesday at noon Eastern Time, where I just dive in a couple of AI tools and I showcase kind of what can be used for some case studies. And then it's up to, the people joining to incorporate it into their processes or just play with it further. I had one earlier today, as we're recording today, it's a Wednesday. And I had one that I went and I was looking at Julius AI. I don't know if you use that at all. It's great for data analytics, especially for very long spreadsheets that you're trying to make sense of the data. Anca. And the next one was Bardeen. Bardeen is sort of like Zapier, an automation AI tool that I love to use, especially when it comes to LinkedIn automation, just moving comments, emails, prospects into a Google spreadsheet, and I can do something with it, or just taking it to ChatGPT to create an email, or something that's an automated process that I don't have to do a lot of clicks. So I'm curious as we come towards the end of our conversation, Eric, because there's one more thing that I want to touch on. And for me, that is mental and physical fitness. That's always been part of our conversations here on the podcast. How do you manage long hours and the pressure of the industry? Because that can be tough. How do you maintain your mental and physical well-being to stay at the top of your game? And that was sort of like the behind the scenes with this bootcamp that I was doing. It was fantastic to see those event professionals like feeling so energized at the end of that. And I was, constantly reminding them, like, you can do this for 3 minutes. If you find 3 minutes in your day to do a bit of movement in your sitting at the desk all day long,
Yep.
you're going to have the same effect. Like, it's not a secret. It's something that is being tested. It scientifically has been proven, but you have to do it. You have to get disciplined about it. So I'm curious if you have any strategies.
Well, it's an ongoing fight. It's like when people talk about work-life balance. I don't believe in work-life balance. I believe in work-life integration.
Me too.
Right? So to answer your question about mental health and wellness, first thing first, you need to block time in your calendar. Like anything else, if it's important, it has to be in your calendar and it has to be time blocked.
It's
If
like
not,
you speak my language, Eric. Where are you from?
if not, it's never, ever gonna happen. Now, what I do, I try to meditate. I love reading. I think the most important thing is that anyone should find something for themselves, to have time for themselves. And we were talking about taking flying lessons at the beginning of our conversation. I discovered, and that's something that I was not expecting at all. I discovered, I'm not going to say it's like meditation, but somehow when I'm up there, it's so overwhelming. There is so many things to learn and to try to do at the same time that I don't think about anything else, and I sleep very well at night. And I think that, especially in our industry, I've done meetings in over 50 countries in the world. There's always something happening. When I went to bed, I always slept very well. Because if I go to bed, I need to sleep. If I'm still thinking, then I need to work. But if I'm going to rest, so be it. When I didn't sleep well, and when it was always a signal in my life, is when I had to deal with idiots. People that they were not respecting me, that they're not respecting my team, people that are not worth it to spend time with. So every time in my life when I start not sleeping about this type of people, I knew that it was bad for my mental health. I knew it was bad for my life, and I had to make changes. If not, if you don't make the change, then somebody else is going to do it for you, and that's not what you want to be. So when it comes to mental health, which is essential more than ever, and then again, when you talk about COVID, you talk about AI, all of those things, those are external elements, and we're always coming back of the human beings, of the person. We are in an industry of people, and people do business with people. And so the first person that you have to take care of is yourself.
Yeah.
If you don't, you're not going to be in a position to help others.
Absolutely. Well, it's been such a pleasure, Eric, to just talk about all those things. And we have so many things in common. We're kind of like on the same mindset. So I really connected with everything that you said. And I love the insights that you gave me, our listeners. Now, for anyone that's looking to follow your journey, to dive deeper into strategies for success, where can our audience connect with you?
So they can connect with me on LinkedIn. That's the best way. Or they can go to eventbusinessformula.com and see what I'm doing. I'm focusing now on 3 months program to help business owners to review everything in their business and stop being overwhelmed, have a clear plan, making sure that they know where their sales and processes are going. And then on all social media. And I want to thank you very much for inviting me. Truly enjoy a conversation, what you're doing. And as you said, it's focusing on women, which is great. I think that one thing you said resonated a lot with me. You need to have an environment where you feel safe and where you can share your challenges and grow.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your insights today. Thank you so much for this incredible conversation. I'm sure our listeners can wait to learn more about your business adventures and experiences and fun things that you're doing aside from business. Again, thank you for sharing your journey with us and your wisdom, and keep inspiring the event world with your ideas and your strategies. We'll see you on LinkedIn.
Thank you, Anca. Thank you very much.
All right, friends, that's a wrap for today's episode. A huge thank you for tuning in. Eric's journey and advice are just the tip of the iceberg. So definitely keep up with his work for more golden nuggets on growing your business in the event and meeting industry. And don't forget to check out some of the AI bootcamps, workshops, and LinkedIn Lives that we have coming up at Trifan Events. Those are perfect if you're looking to boost your skills either in event planning or your business, and you just want to get a handle on using AI to make your events more effective, your processes more productive. So head on over to our website for all of those details and how to sign up. And while you're there, take a minute to actually explore our AV production GPT. It's packed with insights from AV, AI, and how to negotiate contracts, budget recommendations, basically nail the event performance and efficiency, making sure that your events are impactful and they don't break your bank. And lastly, make sure that you are following us on our channels. We've got an amazing episode dropping this Friday. We have plenty of episodes on all kinds of topics, tips, industry insights, and they're all coming your way via our channel. So don't miss that. We are always about staying ahead of the curve in this very fast-paced world of events. Thanks again for tuning in. I am Anca Platon Trifan. I can't wait to join you next time. Stay curious, keep innovating, and most importantly, stay connected. We're making the future of events brighter. Catch you on our next episode. And remember, the future of events is now. Take care and see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Events Demystified podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, please take a moment to review it, rate it, and share it with other event professionals that could benefit from it. Connect with us on social at Events Demystified Podcast. We would love to hear from you and what you're up to. If you'd like to learn more about Trifan Event services and find out if we're a good fit in supporting your event, can we help your event be successful with a 20-minute free consultation? Link in the episode's notes. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks so much for tuning into this exciting conversation. Make sure you follow and subscribe to Events Demystified podcast to stay in the know about all of our upcoming episodes featuring some amazing guests.